Hey guys, welcome back. This is Richard with System X Designs, and we're going to continue on our continuation of our video platform called The Best Place to Hide a Body. As we talked about in the last series, best place to hide a body is the second page of Google. And so last time we talked specifically about local search engine optimization, really getting into that Maps 3-pack and then differentiating ourselves so that we could really start drawing in additional clicks. And today we're going to talk about a similar topic, but it's going to be on organic search engine optimization. How we can intelligently and scientifically start competing for first place, at least the first page. And we're going to talk about where on that first page we want to be, if at all possible. In advance, today's topic gets a little more technical. We're not going to dive into a lot of the technical specifics of it, but we are going to talk about some things that are a little bit nerdier than last time. Last time we really focused on the reviews as a way to try to drive our click-through ratios up. Today we're going to talk about some other things that get a little bit nerdier, but we're going to keep it pretty conceptual and high level. There will probably be some follow-up videos or tutorials that we write that will kind of expand on some of the more technical aspects of it for the people that are interested. But with that, let's get started. Like we said, last time we focused on this maps listing area, the local SEO, and today we are going to focus on organic. The organic search engine where they actually return individual pages down here. And so in order for us to know how to rank there, we have to know how things are scored there. And that's an incredibly nerdy technical topic. And we really want to spend today simplifying the concepts of it. Because again, if you can conceptually understand it, then the chances of you being able to get into the top are really, really good. So that's kind of what we want to focus on today, is simplifying it. In order to do that, what I want to do is I want to take everybody back to a topic that they are all familiar with. The topic that I want to take you back to is in school. Everybody that's watching this presumably has been to at least high school. And so think about in high school when you wrote an essay and your teacher was going to grade it, everybody in the class turned in an essay. Each page on your site, in other words, not your site as a whole, but each individual page on your site is an essay about an individual topic, or at least that's how Google is going to grade it. And in this case, like I said, Google is going to grade it. Google is the teacher. They're the ones that are going through and they're going to mark up your site and they're going to say whether or not that you fit for any given topic or keyword search. And that's what the assigned topic is, that search term or the keywords for which you're attempting to rank. So if I'm searching for a tree removal service, then obviously the search term tree removal service is the topic that I want to rank for. And just like you had to do in high school or college, you must properly format your paper. You must cite your sources using correct citations, include relevant content to the topic at hand, lots of things that you had to do in school. And there are some direct equivalents to that when we're talking about search engine optimization. So with that, we're going to dive into it. The graded score that you receive on your paper, in other words, each individual page, will dictate how highly you rank in the class, because every other student also has a graded essay. Here's the catch though. Unlike high school or college, the teacher is going to publicly post the grade in order from highest to lowest. This place where the results are posted, that's the pages of Google. And ideally we want to be at the top of that. Just like you wanted to be, get the best grade in your class, you really want to get the best grade on Google because that will put your business and website at the top. So we mentioned in the last webinar series that the 3-pack, inside the 3-pack, this area right here, that this more places, which would take you, from 4th place on to the rest of them, we mentioned that 4th place is tied for last. Well, there's a rough equivalent for that in organic search engine optimization. That's being in the top 3 positions on the results page. And that's because your user can see your listings, can see your individual pages without having to take any additional action, such as clicking on this more places, or in this case down here, scrolling down to see what's down below it. This area is where we want to be. And that area is above what we call the fold, represented here by this dashed red line that you see down at the bottom of this page. And that fold represents the place on the site where you can't see anything else below it unless you scroll down. Note that this is true on Google, and that terminology holds true on every other website as well. It's basically the way your screen is laid out, and it's anything you can't see below that line without scrolling. That line is called the fold. So to better illustrate that, this is the way the search results page for Tree Removal Service Athens, Georgia appears on my computer. You see these three down here, and then zoomed out, this is where that line falls. So everything from here down falls below the fold. Not necessarily the end of the world. It's not nearly as bad as ending up in the more places area in maps, but if we can be above that fold, we would certainly like to. And oftentimes that fold occurs after the third organic search. I say oftentimes because we briefly mentioned last time that Google has different templates and layouts that they use for search results. Sometimes there would be a paid ad section up here, which would obviously move everything down. Other times there may not be 3 businesses they recommend, so there's fewer and you might get 1 extra down here. But just as a general rule of thumb, the fold oftentimes occurs after the third result on the organic page. And just like we talked about last time, we're big on the idea that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In this case, we want to quantifiably know how many clicks, what is it worth? How many clicks are each one of these spots worth on the page? And there's several companies, a lot of companies do these kinds of studies. Their numbers are all pretty consistent. They might fluctuate by, a tenth of a point or a hundredth of a point. I'm not so worried about that as I am understanding where the trends in traffic are. And so we're going to look at a study that was done by Ignite Visibility, where they found that position 1 gets almost 21% of the clicks. Position 2 and 3 are tied in the 13 spot. But what happens when we go below that fold? Well, you see that the numbers drop pretty quickly. There are some spikes, like for instance 4 kind of got overlooked a little bit, not much. Likely because when people rolled past the fold, they actually scrolled past that one. And then you see there is a slight pickup at position 10. Right, that's because it's right above the pagination. But you can see that position 10 compared to position 1, 2, and 3, it's double, if not almost triple. So obviously, the higher we can rank, especially above that fold, the better. And we can also rank in multiple positions here, which would be crucial. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So let's look at a real life example. Asheville Brewery. This search term, and by the way, there's several tools that we're going to show and mention today, and there's a lot of variations of them. We're not going to call them by name, but there are tools that will allow us to see the search volume of any given search term. That will also help us understand the competitiveness of it. These tools are a lot of them are completely free, and they're worth their weight in gold. They're really helpful in letting you understand where you should target some of your content efforts. We'll dive into that in a little bit, but let's take a look at Asheville Brewery, which the volume here is 880 searches per month. If you've ever been to Asheville, North Carolina, you're probably already familiar that there are a lot of breweries up there. It's a very, very competitive market. So if we hold those click-through ratios true from the previous page, what happens with our clicks? Well, if we were to rank number 1 and we were to pull 20.5% of that 880, that's 180 clicks per month. Right, so we don't have to go through each one of these. You can already tell. Would you rather get 180 or 115 to 120, or would you rather be down in the 40s? Obviously, we want to be up in the 180 range, if at all possible. So there's 2 ways we can go about improving the number of clicks we're getting. We can either improve our click-through ratio, or we can improve our rank, which in turn should theoretically improve our click-through ratio almost without fail. So we're going to take a look at that. So we talked last time about how the reviews were vital in the local and that search engine optimization that's geared toward the business listings. Those search results, they show that 3-pack. And we talked about how it's vital to have great reviews because it improves the number of clicks. And if you'll remember in the example that we used, 90 or more percent chose precision because of the number of reviews and the good rating. They had not only the most reviews, but they also had the highest rating. Very, very important. So if 90% chose precision because of the reviews that improve their click-through ratio, how do we go about increasing our click-through ratio in the organics listing? And there are a couple things we can do. One key factor is your meta descriptions. Whenever you're writing an article in the back end of whatever content management system you're using, whether it's WordPress or Joomla or virtually any other one that's available, you have an option to add your own meta description. If you're in the Stone Ages and you're still hand coding a site, then you could actually add this tag in the back end of the HTML. The meta description is that area right under your URL in the search results that is basically a description of your site. You get to choose what this says. And if you don't choose it, then Google will choose it for you. They normally will take the first 130-ish. That 130 does vary. Google sometimes increases or decreases it. They also do that for mobile devices or based on industry, whatever. Don't get too caught up on that. Let's consider it to be about 130 characters. And you see here that in a snippet of code, I've highlighted exactly where the meta description is. And you can see they actually wrote this out. That's their attempt to write, and I'm not saying it's a bad attempt. That's them choosing what they want to display in that search box result, as opposed to Google just taking the first characters they find on a page, which oftentimes are not the characters that you would want to display if you only had a really short little clip. In other words, well-written, actionable descriptions will definitely help your click-through ratio. But none of this is new. Meta descriptions have been around a long time. They're very easy for everybody to manipulate. It's good that you can do it, but all of your competitors are already doing it too. So though it is important to not neglect your meta descriptions, it truly still boils down to the placement. How do we get up that first page? And so how do we improve our placement? Well, let's go back to that essay that we were grading at the beginning. Search engines score each page that they crawl quantifiably. They assign it a numerical score for any given keywords. It is not magic. There is not a group of people who are just manually reading each web page and deciding whether or not they like it for any given terms. It is a coded algorithm that will actually provide a quantifiable numerical score. You'll never know your numerical score for any given page, but that's the way they work. They will then assign the results will be in order of highest to lowest. So if you are the highest score, you'll appear first. If the next, let's say you had and I'm totally using theoretical numbers. Let's say your page scored a 190 for any given search term. The next competitor scored a 182. The next one might have scored a 174, etc. It orders them from highest to lowest. And as we mentioned earlier, note that it is possible to occupy more than one spot. Keep in mind, search engine placement or search engine results pages for organic listings are not returning a website. They are returning a web page on a website. But if you have more than one page that quantifiably scores well for any given topic, you will likely occupy more than one position. That is crucial. Crucial. If you can do that, that's the holy grail, to be able to occupy more than one spot, because if first place is getting 20%, third place is getting 13%, presumably our click-through ratio for that term should be about 33% if we're occupying both of those spots. So in order to target the first page to get up there, let alone above the fold, we need to carefully choose keywords and locations. There are a lot of tools that will help you do this. Many of them are free. And some of them that are paid are incredibly cheap for what they're doing for you. They'll allow you to identify competitiveness of keywords. They'll allow you to identify the search volume. I mean, yeah, it's easy to rank for, some obscure search term that's an incredibly, it's 14 words long, but 2 people in history have ever searched for it. That's really easy to rank for, but it's not valuable. You want to get into an area where you can target a combination where you want to quickly score for a more attainable keyword that still has a decent search volume. And then while you're gaining some traffic from that, you can start targeting some of the more competitive areas. How do we do that? Well, we prefer to use what we call city pages to target specific keywords in specific locations. We call them city pages. Some people have called them geo pages. We're going to call them city pages from here on out. And basically, a city page is a keyword plus a location. And we're going to dive into that into a little bit more detail. So first, it's about a 2,000 word article about your business or service. These started out years ago at like 350 to 500 words, and they've just kept increasing and kept increasing as the algorithms have become more complex. Note, however, that if you're in a competitive industry, then yeah, you might need 2,000 words. If you're in a very non-competitive industry, you might actually be looked at as over-optimized if you have a huge article. Your next competitor has 350 words and you've got 2,500. That may be a little bit of overkill. We're not going to get into over-optimization today. Just understand that if the people that are in the top 3, top 4 positions have 750 words, I might write 850 words. In this case, we're going to look at about 2,000 words about the business or service. You see that there is a title with a keyword in the targeted location. In this case, I'm targeting the words digital marketing, and I'm trying to target a location of Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. We want to have header tags that are optimized for the search engines. In this case, you see like create brand awareness, reduce business operation costs. Those are header tags that are indicating, you see the font is a little bit bigger. That indicates to Google that these are actually a little bit more important and they cover a section. What we want to do is we want to break this city page down into 4 or 5 sections consisting of 400 or 500 words each, however much it takes to evenly distribute out to about 2,000 words. And if you go less than that, obviously adjust the length of your sections accordingly or the number of your sections. You might only need 3 sections. We also want to use geotagged images in multimedia. We do this for 2 reasons. Multimedia, like videos, are great because people would rather watch a 3-minute video than read a 2,000 word article. And the images, geotagging, is best understood if you have like an iPhone, and I'm sure Android does it too, where you take a picture and you are allowing location services on your device, the camera will actually plot the geo coordinates of where you were when you took the picture. Sounds kind of creepy, but it has some useful attributes to it as well. For instance, with iOS, it will then organize them into where you were. So if I'm taking them in Covington, Georgia versus I'm taking them in Athens, Georgia, it can separate out those because it knows where I was when I took the pictures. Well, when we put pictures in our website, I want to geotag my images. So in this case, I am targeting Lawrenceville, Georgia. So this image, I'm using a software tool that allows me to make Google believe that this picture came from the city center of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Very, very important. What this page is trying to do is trying to convince Google or any of the search engines that we are who we say we are, we do what we say we do, and we are where we say we are. And so the content will take care of the who we are and the what we do. This helps take care of the where we are in connection to some of the other title tags and things like that we're using. Very, very important, often overlooked. Also, one thing to note on this, not just geotagging them, but you can put in alternate tags onto an image. Google cannot read your picture. So if you take a picture of words, I oftentimes see this on smaller restaurants who build a website, and instead of retyping their entire menu, they put a picture of their menu on their website. Terrible, terrible, terrible idea because Google cannot read the image. It doesn't acknowledge that as individual words. It acknowledges that there's one picture there. If you're doing it like here, you can put in an alternate tag when you're embedding the image. The alternate tag should have something about the keyword that you're trying to target, in this case, digital marketing. And so I might actually replicate digital marketing in Lawrenceville, Georgia, or I'd probably use some kind of keyword variation, digital marketing agency, Lawrenceville's professional digital marketing group, something like that as an alternate tag, geotagged for Lawrenceville, Again, just trying to build some of that trust with Google that we are who we say we are, we're where we say we are, and we do what we say we do. So further structuring, and this gets a little bit nerdy, so if this goes over your head, don't worry about it. This is something your developer should take care of. But we want to understand some other ways that we can help improve our odds of success. And we have to understand ranking indicators to do that. And ranking indicator is a nerdy technical term that you don't need to get too caught up in. Basically, it's the scoring criteria that the teacher, in this case Google, is looking for. In school, you would have known it as, maybe your essays had to be written MLA format. They had to have 5 paragraphs per topic. They had to have sources cited in the footnotes. They had to be formatted in a certain way, etc. Well, the equivalent to that scoring criteria for your web pages are things like the header tags, the schema, the keyword density, the URL structure, geotagging, etc. We're going to dive into a couple of these, but don't let the technical terms get too crazy on you. We're going to walk through them one at a time. So we need to use a search engine friendly URL structure. Your URL is the entirety of your web page, not just your website, not just systemxdesigns.com, but systemxdesigns.com/location/digital-marketing-Lawrenceville-Georgia. And so for an example, what we're going to do is we're going to say example.com/tree service/Athens tree removal. And a general rule of thumb, there's several different schools of thought on this, but I like to use whatever my Google business category was as this section. So if I do tree removal and I have a business that is listed on Google Business as a tree service, then I want to use tree service as that part of the URL structure. And then over here, I would include a combination of my location and my keywords that I'm trying to target. Basically, this is one more thing that gives Google an easy way to understand exactly what we do, exactly what that page is supposed to reflect in its content. And assuming that the content matches, which is it always should, you're not trying to spoof it in any way, then it should help you score really well. The URL structure is a really big ranking indicator. Next, we need to have correct schema embedded in the code of the site. Don't get too caught up in what I'm about to show you. There are tools that help you generate it. It's very easy. But basically, schema is just a cheat sheet. In college or in high school, you were probably highly encouraged to not ever cheat. Google would recommend that you cheat on their behalf all the time. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is in the source code of the site, and there's certain things that as a business, Google knows it's going to need in order to know how to recommend you to other people. So for instance, I'm using a menu URL. This is so Google knows exactly what page to send people to for the menu of this restaurant. It knows the telephone number, the address, the geo coordinates, latitude and longitude, days of the week that they're open. Depending on your business and your industry, there are certain things that are just standard that Google's always going to need, or any search engine's always going to need. Schema is just a standardized way of telling that search engine the things that it's already looking for. So having correct schema in your website gives a cheat sheet to Google or Bing or whoever. It gives a cheat sheet that allows them to get all of that pertinent data all in one place, makes it much easier on the search engine to know exactly what you do, who you are, and where you are. Once we've got our schema embedded, we want to make sure that we embed high authority elements. High authority would indicate how much Google trusts whatever the source of what you're embedding is. And what do I mean by that? Well, I like to use Google Maps as an embed, YouTube videos. By the way, Google owns YouTube, and Google Calendars. You might also use a Google Drive that is public that might have images, from an event that your business hosted or whatever. These are all things that Google owns. These are Google elements. They have very high PageRank authority. They have the authority on these, the trust factor on these is just through the roof. Google's never going to punish you for using more of Google's properties. Therefore, the more the merrier. I don't try to overdo this, but on many pages, I will include a YouTube video. I like to include a map to my business. If I have a business that just has one location, if I have a client that has one location, I like to embed a map and a link to driving directions on Google from that map in every page. If they have multiple locations, then I obviously only include the schema markup and the driving directions for each location on that specific location's page. The idea there being that if I have 3 locations, I certainly don't want Google to see the schema for one location on every page and assume that's the only one that I have. It will not help my other locations at all. You're not doing yourself any favors there. Next, in your city page, you want to include a call to action. A call to action, what I like to use is like a pop-up for a contact form, or like a sign-up form for a newsletter, something like that. I time mine. So if you were to land on this actual page that you see here, after 6 seconds, there's a pop-up box that comes up, and it's got a contact us form with our phone number, a bunch of information for you to be able to contact us. I write city pages more for search engines than I do for visitors. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be not pertinent to the visitor, but the content really is there to score on search engines. And so when a visitor gets there, I don't really care that they're going to read all 2,000 words that I added. What I really care about is they're going to contact me or do business with me. If you have a website that's trying to build a lead generation list, then you might want to have an email newsletter sign up form that pops up. Whatever your target is, that's where we try to get our conversions. We try to convert that visitor to a customer or potential customers. So that's a fire hose of information for getting your city pages put together for content, to make sure that we increase our click-through ratios by getting as high up on that page as we can. So the next question becomes, how many do we need? Well, let's take a look at that. So if we were going to try to rank for a dentist office in Conyers, Georgia, Conyers is also a suburb of Atlanta, just east of the city, I'm going to try to target these kinds of keywords. And I'm going to try to target Conyers and the areas immediately surrounding Conyers, such as Rockdale County, where Conyers is, Lithonia, which is in DeKalb County, they share a border. Covington shares a border on the other side, which is in Newton County. McDonough, Walnut Grove, these are all areas where if I had a dentist office in Conyers, I would be very interested in pulling customers from all of these locations for all of these keywords. And I may have more keywords and more locations, just using this as a basic example. So we have 8 keyword options here. And of those 8 keyword options, we're trying to rank in 8 locations. And so if we have 8 keywords and 8 locations as options, we have 64 total options. We need 64 total city pages. Now, if we do 2,000 words times 64 city pages, that's 128,000 words for city pages that you're going to be writing on your website. This is absolutely fantastic for search engine optimization, but this is a lot of content for us to be writing by ourselves. So how does it work? Well, there were some old school methods that it used to be quite easy. All you needed was a pulse and half a brain. So the old school method that no longer works, and you should definitely steer clear of it because it will get you penalized. But the old school method was I would take dental cleaning, Conyers, Georgia, and I would write my 750 to 2,000 word article, my city page. What I would do when I was done with it is I would duplicate it. I would literally copy and paste the entire thing. And I would change the name to Dental Cleaning, Lithonia, Georgia. I would do a search and replace where anywhere in that article that I had used the word Conyers, I replace it with the word Lithonia. And when I do that, I basically have a whole new city page. It is identical in its content with the exception of that. So we would then rinse, wash, repeat. And if I wanted 50 city pages, all I had to do was write one and then copy and paste it, search and replace the city name 50 times. I had 50 city pages. It was a much easier way to do it. Well, Google quickly caught on to that, and they decided that that's going to get gamed pretty quickly. So Google released an algorithm called Penguin. And the Penguin algorithm, and I'm sure they probably had a picture of a nice little animal. I picture the bad guy from Batman. But Google introduced this Penguin algorithm that was specifically designed to punish any duplicate or verbatim content. Anybody that was trying to do this with their city pages and just basically game the system to increase their search rank, Penguin came along and it absolutely smashed this. Now, if your site is flagged by the Penguin algorithm, all of your pages will not show up. You'll have to go through a process of cleaning your site, and reapplying to get it reinstated into the search placements. It's a big headache, a big hit to your traffic. It's definitely something that we want to avoid. And so now there's a completely different art of duplicating your articles. What I highly recommend is that you do as much research as you can on the front end of finding what keywords that you want to target as well as which locations, and understand the search volumes and then prioritize them. So I like to find a nice balance between the search volume and the competitiveness. So in other words, if my search volume is real low and there's 20 competitors, I might try to initially start with a suburb of that area where maybe there aren't 20 competitors, there are 5 competitors. If conversely, if there are very few competitors in a large high traffic area where there's a good bit of search volume, then that's definitely somewhere that I want to target. Those are fewer and far between now, but they are still out there. Depending on what niche your business serves, they are still available. And then you probably don't want to write 128,000 words yourself because you are busy running your business, not busy promoting it online. So I recommend that you outsource that content through a system of software that we have, as well, as well as a manual process that we do. A lot of times what we will do is we will help people with their content. Either we will write the content for them and let them edit it and wordsmith it, or they will provide us with a city page as well as the keywords and the locations they want to target, and we can go through and we can duplicate their content for them in such a way that it will not be flagged and punished by the Penguin algorithm, allowing you to target additional locations with additional keywords without having to write all of the content yourself. So, as a recap, targeting this organic SEO area, we need to understand that Google returns web pages, not just websites. Therefore, we can create content specifically targeting this section by keyword and location. Also, once we get really good at it, it is possible for us to potentially occupy more than one of these spots, which even further increases our click-through ratios. So how do we do that? Well, we use city pages, which target the specific locations and keywords in the titles of the page. Inside it, we use relevant content, proper markup, geotagged images, good use of header tags, the schema markup that we showed, several other tools that are inside the individual page to help increase our odds of success at getting up above this fold and getting up as many times as we can. So, again, just kind of like the last one, I know this is a ton of information for you to take in. I certainly appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this installation of this video series. You guys, send your questions over, and if you want to rewatch this or get a copy of the slides for your business, then certainly you can do so. systemxdesigns.com/webinar, and you can go through and you can find a bunch of great tools, some search engine optimization, scanning tools that will help you understand where your business currently is and what you need to do to increase it. It helps with both local and organic SEO. If there's ever anything we can do for you, this is what we do for a living. We are not doing this at night part-time. This is our living. We make a living out of helping people get to the top of Google, outranking their competitors so that they can see that increase in traffic, therefore clicks, therefore customers on their websites. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. We look forward to hearing from you, look forward to working with you, and we look forward to the next part of this video series. Thanks, guys.